Pregnant teenager?
No.
No.
No, no one that I've known has become pregnant as a teen.
No.
Yeah, I know a couple people. Not really. I know friends, but not that close to friends. Yeah, a lot of people have kept it, and I know some people that had abortion.
No. No one has become pregnant who I've ever known. At least no one's ever told me about it.
Yes. Yeah, a few. Couple.
Yeah, my stepsister. She just decided to have the baby because she didn't want to have an abortion.
Yes, a lot of people in my school are pregnant, like as of now too. And a lot of them had to drop out of school too. A lot of pressure because they just can't take care of themselves. A lot of them didn't just drop out, they had to miss so many days, the school made them. And I guess their parents, they're at work so they can't take care of them. They all they have themselves and their boyfriend leaves them and stuff, so they can't do anything about it.
According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, almost 850,000 teens become pregnant each year.
Where can these teenagers turn for help?
Are there resources out there to support them through this difficult and frightening experience?
What do we, as a church that defends life, do to reach out to these young women?
Are we doing enough? What should we be doing?
Faith in action, companioning a pregnant teen. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Jack.
And I'm Catherine.
And this is Realfaith TV.
What would you do if a girl in your school or your church community became pregnant?
Would you be quick to pass judgment on her, or would you be supportive?
Our spotlight guest Jessie faced ridicule and embarrassment when she became pregnant at the age of 15.
Jessie chose life for her child. It's a decision that she does not regret.
We'll meet Jessie later in the show, along with our studio guests.
But first, let's go back to the teens on the street and find out what they think pregnant teenagers face in society.
I think a lot of people criticize teenagers who are pregnant and negatively and everything derogatory towards them because they feel like, oh, they're dirty or they're just a tramp or whatever they want to say. But it's totally wrong.
They face derision, judgment. People look at them and they think that they can judge them because in their eyes that person is inferior to them, and I think that's really wrong.
I think a lot of judging, a lot of people are judgmental of them, calling them, talking behind their backs and stuff.
What do you think pregnant teenagers face from society in general?
I guess like an outcast. And plus they have a kid to take care of from now on.
Mostly the teasing, like people telling them a lot of stuff like, oh, they don't care, like.
Oh, very badly. Like made fun of all the time for like being pregnant.
There's a way that society perceives them, and it might not be right, but since it's like a majority, people think, oh, it's her fault. She shouldn't have been doing any hanky-pankying around, I think that is hard for her to take, and then she acts a certain way, and then it's just a vicious cycle.
Society as a whole, like if they try and have an abortion, they're the people saying like, oh, you're killing babies. And if they try to keep the baby, it's just like, oh, you're never going to have a real career, you're never going to do that. And they put up for adoption, they're saying like, oh, you're giving the baby to some stranger, how could you? No matter what they do, it's always wrong.
It must be so difficult to be in that situation.
I can't even imagine. Let's find out from our studio guests how pregnant teenagers are treated in their schools or church communities.
Let's meet them first. They are Matt, Katie, Ijama, Christina, Phil, and Carly.
So, have any of you known a teenager who became pregnant?
And what are some of the biggest difficulties that they had to face?
I actually knew a girl who got pregnant this year, and like the biggest thing for her was her family isn't supportive of that. Like it happened to her older sister too, and when it happened to her older sister, her parents kicked her out of the house. So she just had a really hard time telling, like I don't think she ever told them because she was so scared.
I've also known a girl who was pregnant, and I think her biggest problem was like acceptance from the community or school, church, friends, and parents.
I had a cousin who became pregnant as a teenager, and she, dropped out of high school to get a job to support the baby, but her family was really supportive, and her mom helped her take care of the baby and still does now. Like when she's out working, her mom helps her with the baby and everything. So I think that's a big part of if you're pro-life, you have to be ready to, help out. It must be so devastating to realize that you're pregnant when you're a teenager.
Your life is forever changed, no matter what you decide.
Jessie knew she would choose life for her child, whatever it took.
even if it meant running away from home.
Let's hear her story now.
I was 15 when I found out I was first pregnant. I was going to be 16 in a month or 2. I had no idea what to do. I was very upset. I was just crying and I felt lost. Mostly scared. I wanted to run away. I didn't know, how to tell my parents or what my friends would think or anything like that. I think any emotion that I felt was mostly based out of fear. I felt like I was gonna, obviously I was gonna disappoint my family. I felt like I could lose friends for this, that all my hopes and dreams that I ever had in my entire life were just now gone. When I found out for sure, because I took a few tests to make sure, when I was with one of my friends, the last test I took, as soon as it was positive, she asked me, she was like, I'm here for you, do you want me to take you to a clinic in Montclair and all this stuff? And I thought about it for like a split second and I realized I couldn't do it. And not because, of what people would think of me or anything like that, but I just realized that myself, I could never do that. So the only really option I considered definitely was either having the baby, telling my family, or just running away.
I'd probably be terrified. I don't know where I would go first.
If a friend came to you guys and told you she was pregnant, how would you respond? What would you do?
I would definitely take her in and befriend her. I would give her advice, tell her what to do, maybe get professional help, go to her parents, and maybe just slowly get it out in the open.
Yeah, I would definitely try and be supportive because so many people are going to stereotype her and ostracize her from school and stuff. She doesn't need one more person doing that. So I'd support her.
Go ahead.
Yeah, she definitely needs all the support she can get because she can't do it all by herself. She needs anybody who's willing to help her.
Yeah, I'm sure being in that situation is terrifying and no one wants to be in that situation alone. They need those people there, and especially those people that are close to you. I mean, you always have different options to go to a clinic, but you also want those people that know you really well and that are there for you.
Right, just to be able to talk. I know probably the most difficult thing for me would be telling my parents.
Oh, yeah.
How do you...
That'd be so hard.
I would definitely encourage my friend to tell her parents. I'd actually, if she needed the moral support, I would go with her. But I would always encourage her to actually have the child and either raise it herself or put it up for adoption, because I was adopted, and whenever I'm going through a hard time or anything, I just think I could either be going through this hard time and still have all my life experiences, or not be living at all and have nothing. And I always choose having the life. It was the greatest gift my mother ever gave me. Yeah. And I would encourage that from anybody, to just give the child life. If you have to put it up for adoption because you can't take care of it, that's fine.
Yeah. Next, let's find out how Jessie told her parents she was pregnant and how they responded.
Extremely hard to tell my parents. It's very hard to tell my parents. All my life, I've been straight A student, never caused any problems, never got grounded, although I probably should have been. I never really did anything to rebel against my parents or anything like that. It took 2 or 3 weeks before I was even ready to tell them, so it was torturous to sit there and wait that long though. But although now I look back on it and I probably should have dealt with this differently, but I wound up I wrote my mom a letter, and so I told her when she got home there was going to be a letter waiting for her on the table. It just said in there, if she doesn't want to talk to me ever again, I'd be okay with that. Just, if she wants me to leave home, I'll leave home. And then she told my dad. When they found out, they were mostly mad. They were mad at me just because I thought that they weren't going to be there for me. And they were like, what's wrong with you? Why would you ever think of running away? Why would you ever think that we wouldn't support you? And from that moment on, they were supportive 100%. They brought me to the doctors. They talked to my principal for me, with me. they were just there for me 100%, along with my sister. And my parents even offered to raise the baby for me if I felt like I couldn't.
Jessie was blessed to have such loving and supportive parents.
Not every teen that faces an unplanned pregnancy has that kind of support from parents. Do you guys know of any other place a pregnant teen might find help?
You could probably, if you need help, go to like your counselor in your school or go to the church, because they're meant to help you. They can't say no to you if you ask. It's their job to be there to give you support if you ever need it, for anything.
Yeah, just like Phil said, of course, always your family and friends will be there, but you could go to someone you really trust in school if you trust your counselor. I personally believe a doctor would be your best choice, because you also want what's best for like your body and your health, for your health and the baby's. So you could go to a doctor, and if that's like not possible, you could even just go to your school nurse.
Also, you can go to like people who you trust, like a teacher or family friend, even like a friend's mother, someone like that.
I know my school, I go to a Catholic school, so I don't know if this is the same for everybody else, but it's in our handbook that the school can never ask you to leave just because you've become pregnant. And it says that, you know, we're a pro-life religion, so we're really, really bound to try to help everyone that's given a child. And it's just so important to know that you can go to people who are associated with your faith, because it's their job to help you.
Yeah, I don't think people realize the network of, support that a pregnant teenager can have. You've got youth ministers, you've got guidance counselors, friends, family, doctors. There's all these organizations that'll help you out, and it's just there's this multitude of options that you have open to you.
Catholic charities.
Birthright.
Yeah. So they're such an asset. I hope more people realize that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Peer pressure exerts a strong influence in our lives. All of us want to be accepted and loved.
Facing the ordinary pressures to fit in can be a struggle, but how difficult must it be to face your peers as a pregnant teenager?
The laughter and the gossip, and the way that everyone has an opinion about what you should do.
Don't forget the way some people you thought were your friends can abandon you.
It can't be easy, and some teenagers can really be cruel.
As a church committed to respecting life at every stage, we must be consistent in our support of life.
This includes the life and welfare of both the pregnant teenager and her child.
After a child is conceived, the circumstances of the pregnancy do not change the fact that a loving response is required.
Helping to usher this new life into the world should be the primary focus.
Support for the teenager who is already feeling embarrassed and shamed is essential.
Jessie faced some ridicule, but the support of her family and of her Catholic school principal helped see her through.
A few of my friends found out through me, but everybody else basically found out just through word of mouth, Spreads like wildfire once somebody hears the littlest rumor. There were rumors circulating that I wanted to get an abortion and my mom wouldn't let me. And for me, that was one of the worst ones, because I know myself that I could never have an abortion. And to hear all these people think, oh, well, she wanted to, but she wasn't allowed to. So that was pretty hard. But other than that, people really don't have the guts to go up to you and tease you and ridicule you outright most of the time. So I remember my principal, when we talked to her and she found out what was going on, she said, we're a pro-life community, but how can we say we are if we don't support the women who get in these situations? She told me that everything was going to be okay, and that if anybody in the school said anything to me, if anybody messed with me, to tell her, and she'd take care of it. Every time I went to the OBGYN's office, I felt very embarrassed. I felt ashamed, I guess, because I was in the office with all these women who were, in their late 20s or early 30s who were pregnant, and that's the normal age. And I felt like they were looking at me like, what is this girl doing here? And then they see my big stomach, and they were like, that was one place that I really could not stand going because I knew that people were looking at me bad, like with this bad image in their head.
The gospel calls us to compassion, not judgment.
The gospel calls us to be faithful, not only in good times, but in troubled times.
The gospel calls us to be companions, to treat one another as intimate members of a family.
The gospel calls us to reach out to pregnant teenagers, to steadfastly help them to nurture and protect the new life that God has placed within them.
So, what's been the experience of pregnant teenagers that you guys have known?
One in my school, she was ostracized. She wasn't allowed to come back to school because I don't go to a Catholic school, so we can't obviously have one faith in our school. So she wasn't allowed to come back, and to this day, no one really knows about her, like where her life is, how her child is, who's taking care of it, if her boyfriend and her got married, if they're still together, anything like that, because she was completely ostracized and no one really talked to her anymore.
It's actually the opposite with the girl I knew because all her friends were willing to help her, her parents were helping her, her boyfriend was helping her, like everyone was like committed to help her. I think it was a good thing because like I don't know like what she would have done if like no one was there for her.
You would think that since I go to a Catholic school, we would have had like a good response to a girl getting pregnant and people would have been supportive, but it was pretty much just the opposite. Like all the kids were like, how could you have been so stupid? Like, why would you do this to yourself? And I actually tried to be friends with her and people would come up to me and be like, well, why are you being friends to her? She doesn't deserve that. And it was just horrible because, yeah, you made a mistake, but you still deserve care from someone else.
Yeah, I know with my cousin, it was, everyone was really supportive. You know, everyone kind of came together, like the whole family just kind of came together and was supportive and helped her, you know, with her situation. So I think, you know, that really touched me because I almost didn't expect that almost, you know, I kind of expected it to be the kind of skeleton in the closet thing, you know, but everyone really came out of the woodwork and helped her out, which was nice.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what the point is of like not supporting someone, because when you do support that person, you're making a difference in someone's life, and like by not talking to them or not becoming their friend or not caring, you're not doing anything. There's like, what's your point of like not supporting them and being negative towards them?
Yeah, that's only counterproductive. Next, we asked the teens on the street what they would do if somebody they knew was pregnant.
Let's check it out.
So what would you do if you knew somebody who was pregnant?
I told them to do exactly what they felt was right.
If they needed help, I guess I'd help them.
I wouldn't demean the person for doing that. I would say, hey, you might not have wanted this, maybe you did, but either way, we'll be around to help you if you need it.
I'll support them.
Why would you support them?
Because I know it's like pretty hard to like deal with all of that, so I wouldn't tease them a lot about it.
Definitely tell them like abortion is definitely wrong, so to like put up for adoption or something.
Personally, unless I'm pregnant, which is impossible, or if I'm responsible for the pregnancy, it's none of my business and really shouldn't get involved, have no right to even comment, think about it, or even get involved.
I think most people are supportive. All my teachers, they're always like, oh, how many months more? Like they're so nice to them. But I'm sure like the kids aren't as supportive. Like the kids, they're just mean kinda.
I would help them out in any way possible, because I know their family would be extremely mad at them, but I'll always be there for them.
If my friend was pregnant, I'd be supportive. I tell them just to do what they wanted to.
Just treat them as equal. Just be as nice as you would to anybody else.
So what kind of concrete advice can you guys give to a friend who's in a crisis pregnancy?
I would definitely start with stay calm, and remember there's still people out there that love you and will always accept you for who you are.
Yeah, I agree. I'd tell them like to make sure that their parents know, that they don't keep it a secret, that they have really good friends that will support them through the whole thing, and to try to find help for the baby and plan ahead for what happened after the baby is born.
Yeah, I would tell them to just really think about everything. Like, don't just go to an abortion clinic because that's the easiest option. Yeah, it clears up the problem in the short term, but in the long term, like the effects on the girl who is pregnant could not even make it worth it.
Right, like continuing, my health teacher told me a story. One of her really good friends as a teenager got pregnant and she chose to have an abortion, and she later on remarried, and when she was pregnant again with her husband, when the time came and she was in the hospital going to have the baby, she was extremely depressed, and the husband never knew why, and she actually had never told her husband. And finally she told her husband, and she was just like, I've always felt like a piece of me was missing, like that I'm hollow inside because I didn't have that baby.
I would probably say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I would definitely encourage the person to see a doctor and make sure that they and the baby were in good health throughout the pregnancy. And then, like I said before, when it's over, either put the baby up for adoption or raise it. Right. It's your choice.
You don't know the life that that baby could have. I mean, if you feel like you really just can't support it, put it up for adoption, because look at what people can do with their lives, honestly. Like we have, right, you, for example, and just, I can't even really articulate how powerful like all the possibilities you have in your life. And if you have a child, it's the greatest gift. It really is.
Yeah, I think the one thing you kind of have to get through is that first panic attack that sets in when you first find out, you know, and just realize all the help and support you have and figure out a way to respond. You know?
Our faith reminds us that it is not our place to punish or alienate one another,
but to welcome one another with extraordinary hospitality.
Being supportive to the teen and positive about her developing child doesn't give the appearance of condoning unwed pregnancy.
It says instead that you love the person and care for her, just as God does, and that you will love and care for her child as well.
Next, Jessie tells us about her defining moment.
The moment when she knew that the baby within her was real.
She also shares how her faith helped to sustain her through her pregnancy, and now as a parent.
It wasn't real to me yet. I had denied it for a month. The first time I heard Jordan's heartbeat was like it. That was it. You know, I knew that was going to happen. It was going to happen for sure. It literally, like, he put the microphone on my stomach and it just like filled the room. Like, it was echoing throughout the room, and it's like this heartbeat. It was so fast. It was like, it was amazing. I wasn't showing at all. I hadn't felt any kicks or anything, you know. It was just, but there was a heartbeat. There was, you know, it was a miracle. It was just amazing. I was sick a lot during my pregnancy. Just really, I had a rough time with it physically. And a lot of times I would just sit there and cry. Just say, you know, God help me, just help me. I don't know what to do. Just show me the next step. He heard me. He helped me. He showed me through other people. He was there through other people to me. I've had a lot of support, and I thank God for that. But I think most of the struggles that I've gone through these past 3 years has been, you know, seeing my friends go out, and me being home with the baby. My whole life I wanted to go to Johns Hopkins University. It was like my dream, you know. I had to give that up. It actually turned out pretty well because now I am enrolled in a program at Kane University. I got a full ride for 5 years, and I'm going to be a high school biology teacher. So, I mean, one door closes and another door opens.
I really admire everything she said. I feel like I can't relate, and yet I can, because it's so real, and like so many people do deal with it. She definitely made the right choice.
So, how important do you guys think someone's faith is when it comes to deciding how you will respond to a teenage pregnancy?
It's definitely something you have to pray about. Like, if a girl was ever to become pregnant, she would definitely have to pray to figure out what her next move would be, because you have 3 choices: adoption, keep the baby, or abortion.
I think faith is incredibly important. I mean, you know, you just have to ask God to help you out because this is a tough situation. And if you can just look for God and the people around you, you can probably accomplish a lot, and it'll help a great deal.
Yeah, I agree. Like Jesus, he never turned his back on anyone, no matter if they were lepers, tax collectors. Like Mary Magdalene, he helped her, and I think like everyone should see how like go by his example, follow his examples.
Our faith is pro-life. I mean, we support it. Like as you said, like children are God's gifts. He supported it. It says like in the Bible that like that's what we should do, and that's like what we follow. There's no reason to turn our back on like what God said. That's what we follow today.
Remember that when there is a pregnant teenager in your school, your church, or your community,
you have the unique opportunity to make a meaningful difference in 2 lives.
the mothers and the babies.
By affirming her choice to cherish the life that God has given her to bring into the world.
By helping her find the answers and resources she needs.
By refusing to join with those who will judge her and ostracize her.
And by simply being present to her through her struggles.
You will have embodied what it truly means to be pro-life.
Check out our website for resources for pregnant teenagers in the links on this program.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And one final thought. The letter of James reminds us,
be doers of the word and not hearers only.
For just as a body without a spirit is dead,
so also faith without works is dead.
Put your faith into action.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.